So first things first, JC, how are you?
I'm really good. I'm a bit tired, but it's an amazing place. It's gonna be a fun gig. I'm excited to be here. Yeah.
Yeah, that's good to hear. So before we get into the music that you've been making lately, I'd like to jump back to the beginning a little bit. And I read somewhere that you started playing guitar around age 12. What made you pick up the guitar?
Well, I actually started playing drums first. It was my first instrument about 12. And yeah, I just basically I really wanted to be a rugby player. I really wanted to be a sports player. But there's a massive issue in that I couldn't really play sports, which was a problem. So I had to do something else, and my mum made me go and study music essentially, and I hated it. But I started learning drums, and that was kind of like the cool instrument to learn. 'Cause you got to hit things, and that was it. And then I kind of went on. I was always a singer, and then I played drums, then taught myself piano at about 14, 15, and then guitar at like 16. And then just kind of found songwriting in the middle of that as well. But yeah.
Very quickly, was there a moment that you knew that you wouldn't be able to play rugby?
It was probably 3 years into my rugby career when I hadn't scored a point. I think that was pretty much it. I was in the position as well. I was on the wing where you have to score points. That's your only job, and I didn't do any of that. But I knew all the rules. I could have been like the best referee ever, but sadly it just didn't work out for me. You know.
Fair enough. You say then your mother directed you towards playing music.
Yeah.
And did you enjoy it, especially
at the start? I hated it.
Okay.
I hated it because I was at school as well, and it's not the cool thing to do. And the only way to do music at the time was like musical theatre. And I was like, yeah, I can sing. This is great. But dancing and acting was much less of a thing for me. I was a terrible dancer. Look at me. And acting, it was just not great. So I hated it for a while. But then after a while, I was like, once you started getting better at it, I was kind of like, well, this feels easy to do and like less of a challenge. It took a long time. It wasn't until about 14, 15 that I really started enjoying it and thinking I could maybe do this someday.
Well, when was the time that you started writing then? Was it around that time?
It was like, 14, 15. I got sent to this songwriting workshop called the Making Music Workshop in like a local town in Northern Ireland. And a local jazz musician sat loads of kids down and essentially taught us how to write songs. And I'd never thought of writing a song weirdly before that. I just played other people's. And I just found it really kind of natural. And like it wasn't easy, but I was just kind of like, we wrote a terrible song. Like obviously a dreadful song. But I was kind of like, where's the catch? And then just kept doing it. And I started a band. I did that for a bit and then just kept going from that day on. And I was like, I think I've been writing songs like constantly ever since, really, from then.
And was Free then the first song that you thought was any good?
Yeah, I think it was like we'd put out stuff on SoundCloud. I had this band called Truth for Me, really back then. I played like the cajon drum and sang. Okay. It was awful. But we went and then Free was the first song I put out back way ago. I did like a cover I think on YouTube as well, and then Free and then Gold I think came out after that. It feels like a lifetime ago. So I think I was 17, maybe 16, 17 when I put it out.
Because I saw a clip of Balcony TV, I think, and you look really young.
I look like a different person.
so if you think back of that time, where was your mind at in terms of music and what you were doing?
Yeah, I was kind of figuring out the whole industry side of it. So I'd been over to London a couple of times and been invited over to work to write with other people. And that was the first time I'd really started writing with other people and co-writing, which was amazing because that's kind of what got me here was the co-writing sort of scene and circuit. So I did that and then was just kind of figuring it out and put the songs out, and it kind of got a little bit of a buzz in Northern Ireland. I started playing shows. And then I ended up going and playing in pubs for a long time because I was able to make money off music, and that was the way. It was like singing Oasis songs in pubs. But it was kind of a really good way to cut my teeth as well because I was playing for 2 hours, twice, 3 times a day to people who didn't care. And it was like doesn't get anything's up from that essentially, but it was like all my friends did it and it was kind of a lovely little scene of people. So yeah, it was kind of a learning curve, I think.
I think it also kind of weeds out the weak in the sense that you have to endure that to
and like honestly you don't enjoy it a lot of the time, but like it's a means to an end. Is that you can, when I was left school at 18 I was able to do that for a year and make a living when I didn't really have to get a real job, and was just able to do that and write and sort of figure out where I wanted to go with it.
But so I read somewhere that you were brought to Nashville as well to do those writing sessions. So what was that like, especially at a young age, and kind of developing your own craft in terms of? It
was just really amazing to get a different perspective of songwriting, because I think it was the Northern Irish Arts Council who brought, because Belfast is like the partner city with Nashville, so we got brought out there, and it was amazing just to work with writers from Nashville and from the UK who I hadn't worked with before, and just see their kind of take on stuff. It was tough, like, because a lot of it wasn't what I wanted to write, and what I wanted to write about, but that was kind of good as well.
In what way?
I mean, a lot of it was like really cheesy country music, which I love, in the right occasion, but I don't write that sort of stuff, you know. So yeah, it was just interesting, but yeah, that was like the first experience I had. I think I was 18, and then it's been a while since that now, so it's like, it was definitely a big sort of learning experience.
Is there one thing you can share that you still implement? Or something that you learned there?
I think it's listening to other people when you're working with them, because a lot of the time you go in and you're like, you've got your idea, but if you just shut up sometimes and let someone else do their thing, it's often like you're like, oh, well, that you could do that with that, and then if you go in and you just want to do your idea, you have to collaborate with people. If you're going to collaborate, you actually have to open up and let people collaborate with you.
So before we get into the music you made, because you in the last couple of years you also wrote with other people, including one just off the top of my head, Lewis Capaldi. Just take me what you mentioned just now, listening to each other. How did that session go with him?
It was amazing. We'd been friends for a couple of years before that, so the session was really funny in that he texted me at like 10 p.m. and was like, "Do you want to go out?" And I'm like, man, I'm tired." And he's like, "Well, do you want to go to the studio?" I'm like, "Yeah, let's go to the studio." And rang my friend whose studio was free, and he brought in another friend, and I was keen and Plested, and then we just kind of sat at like 11 o'clock till 4 a.m. and just weren't even that focused on writing a song. We were just all hanging out and just like chilling, and we wrote this song and never really thought about it that much, and then turns out then it made the album, and he's playing it live to hundreds of thousands of people, and it was the weirdest song I've ever written, because it's one of the songs I'd put not least effort into, but sometimes you put weeks of work into a song and it goes nowhere, and this one we kind of just wrote, and it's now like the biggest song I've written probably. So.
And when you write for this, especially like say it's quite a well-known track. What is it like to kind of, if you hear it on the radio and kind of knowing that the parts of it is yours?
It's amazing. It's so much fun. Especially that I watched Glastonbury where he played to literally like 100,000 people. I remember Hollywood was playing and I was like, this is insane. It's just like, it's very surreal. I know some artists don't like it because they want to be the one on stage, but and I love that as well. But there's something amazing about seeing just a crazy amount of people singing a song that you know you had a part of writing. It's class. It's so good.
But so can I assume that from the beginning the focus was on yourself? You didn't want to just be a songwriter, you wanted to be a performer?
100%. That was the start. I wasn't writing for anybody else at the start. And then that started, it was always going well, but it never happened. So I was like, that's cool, I'm going to keep going, but I'm also going to do this. Because I realized I wanted a job. At the end of the day, I wanted to not have to get a real job. And a way to do that was to write songs for other people. And then I grew to love it. And even now, when I'm mostly just writing for myself I still do very occasionally like write for other people just because I really enjoy it. And there's something amazing about someone else wanting to sing a song you've written. It's really cool.
When it comes to songwriting then, because a lot of your songs deal with heartbreak, I suppose. And so do you need that autobiographical experience, that life experience to be able to write?
I think it helps, for sure. Like, I don't think a lot of my songs are from experiences that other people have had as well that I haven't had necessarily. But like, to empathize with that, I think you have to have gone through it a bit. And like, I obviously make everything way more dramatic. You know what I mean? Like, it's not been that bad. But you gotta make the songs kind of hit home a bit. So it's like,
that's an interesting thing, because I also read somewhere where you said that songwriting, part of songwriting is trying to make something that people can relate to, but also keep it personal to it.
Exactly.
So have you found a balance? Have you found a way of...
You try to. That's the whole part of songwriting. If I could find the balance every day, I'd be a very rich man. But it's just, you just have to keep trying until you kind of get it. And a lot of the times you really miss the mark, and then very occasionally you'll kind of get something that people, and I find it's a lot of the times I don't think I've done it right, that people are like, no, that really makes sense and stuff. I'm like, oh, cool. I definitely don't know what I'm doing then. So
Is there one of the latest songs that you had this with?
Yeah, I think a lot of this, everything I've put out so far has been stuff that I think has like done that. I know Have You Had Enough Wine was very much just like every line was kind of like, it's super simple, but it just kind of it's just one conversation that kind of ended up being a song essentially.
But take me through that process then, because you say you kind of doubt that it's any good every lesson. So how does it kind of end up being a song then? Well, what drives you through
I have this thing is like, even if it's rubbish, I always finish it.
Okay.
Because that's because I've found that a lot of my best songs are songs that I thought were rubbish, and then they've ended up. So if you're halfway through a song and you're like, but you're just like, well, let's just finish it, get it as good as I can, send it off, never think about it again. Then most of the time you never think about it again, but sometimes it works. Okay. Very occasionally.
Because Let me ask this first then. Is it generally that you start with the lyrics or the music?
I find it's easier if I start with the lyrics, but usually I start with the music.
Okay.
So I find it takes me a while to get the lyrics sometimes. To get a lyric that I really love, I can always write lyrics, but to get the ones that actually mean something and hit hard, they have to just come naturally. Whereas music and melodies, I can kind of do on the spot a bit more, I think. So I'll try to come in with lyrics because I know I can do the melodies over the lyrics. Because if I come in with a melody and need the lyric, it's going to be harder. But
Sure.
I write a lot of songs, so you just have to find whatever way works that day. Essentially, is what you've got to do with it. Yeah.
So let's take an example then. I wrote down a bunch of lyrics as well, and we'll see how far we get with them. But for instance, with Like I Did, what was the kind of the lyric or the line that for you was essential?
So basically, that one was written with my friend, and he came in to the studio that day, and I could see he was in a bad place. And he was talking about his ex from ages ago, and he'd found out that she was going out with another guy, and he was really annoyed. He was just like, man, he's never going to be as good as I was. You know what I mean? It was that sort of line. I was like, well, when then Like I Did, and then we just kind of it took like 9 hours to write that song. It took a while.
But I find that obviously the song takes a turn, because in the bridge then you say, but if I'm honest with myself, and then you go into, well, maybe I wasn't the best.
That's because it's like during the conversation where like, he comes in all angry and he's like, he probably will. You know, it's like, it'll be fine. I'm just overreacting to this, and that's kind of the turn. Because the day took a turn in the conversation, and then the song then took a turn because of that.
Because in this job, I hear a lot that music can function as a form of therapy, or kind of a way to get your thoughts out. Yeah. So is that the same for you?
Oh, massively, yeah. Because half the time when someone's like, well, what do you think about that? I'm like, I don't know. So with songwriting, you have to actually go into your head and figure out what you are thinking. And that's really healthy, I think, to do.
This might be a grandiose question, but what is one thing you realized about yourself in the past year through songwriting?
I think one thing is that I think I find it really hard to be honest with myself and other people sometimes. Okay. And that's why I love songwriting, because you have to sit down and you have to be. And you can't just block out stuff, you have to actually think about it. And so I think that's been like a revelation, but it happens all the time with different stuff in songwriting. You just be thinking about it, you're like, what do I actually think about that phrase or that thing or whatever, and you have to sit and figure it out, which otherwise I don't think I'd ever do. I'd just kind of sail past it.
You kind of go with it. A song like Bones then, is that more yourself, or is it?
Yeah, no, that was what me. It was actually written with the same guy, okay. But that was the day after my first ever breakup.
Okay.
And it was just super simple. And I know we hadn't broken up at this point. It was just at the end, and it was like we'd have the conversation. I was like, well, it's definitely done. Like, it's 100% done. And that was it. Like, down to our bones, think we both know. And it was just, he was like, you know, and I'm like, I know. And that was it. That was the whole. It was just so sad. It's just a really simple thing again that we kind of built up.
In terms of how does the music then create it into a song? When you say you kind of start with the lyrics, how do you kind of form the music around it? I work with producers, obviously. They help me a lot with that, because I'm the writer. I don't produce it. So it's but it's definitely like it just forms itself a lot of the time, and you'll just start playing stuff and you're like, yeah, that beat would work, and it just kind of. I love vocals and I love backing vocals and like lots of that. So it's kind of all just builds itself up around that, and then over time it kind of. That song we did like 5 or 6 versions of it, though, I remember. So it was like, it took a while. Because do you feel like you have a particular sound that you're going for? Or
yeah, for sure. Like it's something that we're developing in the minute, because we're bringing out a lot of music this year and next year, and we're going kind of from what was essentially a singer-songwriter thing into trying. I think it's more of a pop thing, or going into that. And so that means the productions are getting sort of bigger and simpler at the same time, and just kind of. Yeah, I'm collaborating a lot more with producers now who are sort of a bit more cutting edge, I find, and just like seeing where that takes us. But I'm really excited about the new song coming up. Yeah.
There's a similar question then about the songwriters. What have you learned from producers and working with these people?
Yeah.
And I have a list here. I don't know who's producer or who's the writer, but Toby Gadd, John Green, Fred Ball, Justin Parker. So what do you
The main thing this year I've learned, I think, is like simplicity is the best thing you can do. Because a lot of these guys, you're like, you want a massive track, and they'll just build it up, and then they'll take everything away and leave like 3 parts. Okay. And you're like, oh, that's it. And that's the best thing to do. And then if you listen to the radio, like loads of tracks are just like 3 different parts. And if the song's good enough, which it has to be, then that's has to be the front of anything, and the production just has to kind of sit with it.
You say you're going to release a lot of music in the next couple of months?
I think we've got 5 more songs out this year,
Because
And then,
I did see an interview where you were asked about albums, and you kind of had a very, very realistic answer in terms of the way music landscape is these days. So do you think the same about
I mean,
an
like,
album?
I'm definitely gonna do an album someday, and I cannot wait to do it. But realistically, it's like we gotta create a demand for an album first. Do you know what I mean? And I think we're slowly getting there, and every track we're putting out now is building, and really everyone's really excited about how it's going. But yeah, we gotta do that. But I'm fully believe it. But I think hopefully this time next year we'll be looking at an album for sure.
And these kind of tours, how important are they for you in terms of what you mentioned, cultivating that?
Yeah, massively, because it gets my name out in front of like James Bay fans, who a lot of them would kind of my music kind of fits into that thing. So it's like, getting to play to thousands of people who have to kind of stand and listen to, and they'll like it or they won't. It's like you don't get that chance a lot, so you gotta kind of do it. Yeah.
Well, you mentioned cutting your teeth early on live. What is it like then now going on live? Is it also a certain learning curve to being a sport artist?
Because it's really tough. Especially I find like outdoor shows really tough as well, because people have the option of watching you get an outdoor show, but there's a lot of other things to look at and do. You gotta really grab their attention. It's not like a headline show where people are there to listen to your songs. You gotta fight and you gotta win. You know what I mean? It's kind of like a battle from the second you get on stage to keep their attention. So it's tough, but I love it as well. It's like you play the show differently from a headline show to a support slot, because you do have to like really sort of put a bit of energy into it and get people and do it. So it's tough, but I love it. It's great. Yeah.
Final question then. What is your ambition within music? Are you looking for a large body of work in terms of writing, or more as a performer?
I want to do one of my favorite artists in the world is Labyrinth and Charlie XCX as well, who are both massive writers and massive artists, and kind of do both at the same time. And I just love doing it. I kind of love doing all elements of it, and I just want to kind of keep doing that, see where it takes me, and make sure I'm still having fun with it, which I massively am at the minute. So it's like, as long as that's happening, and I don't have to get a real job, I'm happy.
Sounds excellent.
Yeah.
JC, thank you
Thanks
very
so
much
much
for your time.
Cheers.
All right.
Class.